Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so pleased to have on singer, songwriter. He's also been on TV, guitarist, Mark Anthony. Thank you for coming on the show, Mark.
Thanks, Eric. Great to be here.
You know what? You're putting out a lot of new music lately, some great singles with the Mark Anthony Ensemble. And I can really tell a difference in the mix and the quality of the songs. And you've been a songwriter for a long time. You're BMI.
Right.
And it's like, how's everything going?
Well, it's been a journey. You know, I'm not a newcomer. Like I tell people, I've been here for 35 years and still relatively unknown as an artist and as a singer-songwriter. But, you know, I just enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
And about 3 years ago, I retired from the workforce. I had 2 separate careers. And I thought at that time, I'm going to have time to get back into my music and come what may, right? So I just had the demo mentality and thought, I've got 30 years of stuff saved up.
Right.
I might as well start recording it. And I put my band together.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm just going to go out. You know, I was tired of doing the 2-song songwriter night thing, right? Because I had all this stuff amassed for 30 years. So I thought, I'll just put a band together that's designed to be a live demo, if you will, of my music and just have fun doing it. So now I'm picking away at it with selective songs over the 30 years of my repertoire and recording those in Franklin.
And you got a new producer.
Got a new producer, a guy named Jonathan Kroon.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to Jonathan with the Noise Floor in Franklin.
I'll tell you what, the songs are sounding great, you know, and I told you this.
Thank you.
And you and I have stayed in touch over the years, and certainly, you know, your ensemble plays all over the country and gaining popularity in Europe and the UK as well. But the mix on the new songs is so much better than your past material in that, you know, the voice, it shows the lyrics, everything is just better. Thank you.
Yeah, Jonathan does a great job. He takes my songs to another level, obviously, right? Always helps having a great recording engineer, besides being a fantastic musician. But, you know, when I write these songs, I hear all the parts.
Right.
And so I can only go so far in kind of telling the band, my band, you know, do this, do that, that kind of thing. But when you go in the studio and you've got compression and you've got, you know, you've got someone who can mix it all right and all the parts get in there. Sometimes it's a smorgasbord of parts, and then you go in there and you filter out and say, no, this is what I want. This is what I heard.
Right.
And I want it to translate the way I heard it when I wrote it. And Jonathan does a great job of interpreting that which I hear.
Well, you know, and I know you're planning on releasing more singles, and you're constantly writing new songs and everything, working with Iron Gate Records.
Yep, Mark Skoda's the president. He put that label together. It's fairly new, along with Greg Upchurch of 3 Doors Down.
Yeah.
And those guys do a great job of creating new initiatives for the artists and opportunities for us. They're working on a couple of new things involving booking, which of course is a struggle for most musicians, and whether you're on a label or not. So we're growing as a label, and I like the fact that I'm kind of a unique artist on their label. They have a lot of rock bands. They certainly have country artists.
Right.
But I'm kind of like somewhere in the middle of all that.
Yeah, because you know, some of your songs have, you know, a country rock kind of ballad kind of feel.
Right.
Particularly, you know, Take Me Down Slow, which you released also for you, and then the latest single, The Mystery. And you've got your own Spotify channel. Although sometimes I understand, you know, you get confused with the Mark Anthony that is not from Nashville.
Yeah, let's get this straightened out right now.
Please.
Because I told Eric when I came in here, I'm the real Mark Anthony and not that other guy. No offense to J-Lo, and certainly I have a greater respect, Mark Anthony, for your work now, since they play my music and your picture comes up on the screen with my songs that I wrote. Thank you.
You know, I've got to wonder this also then, like whenever Mark Anthony is listening to his songs, does your picture come up?
No.
And he's going, who is this guy in Nashville that has an ensemble?
It's funny that, you know, a year ago they put out Running Away, which I wrote years ago.
Right.
But I wanted to record it. And they signed me as artist Mark Anthony on the label. You can, if you get on Iron Gate Records website, you'll see Mark Anthony as artist, as one of their artists. So they put that name out there, which I thought, that might cause some problems. And there was my song on Spotify and on YouTube Music. It was playing with Mark Anthony's picture that came up.
You know,
Next
I have the same problem because a lot of times with my producers, when they put out my videos, Brad Pitt's photo comes
Oh, there
up.
you go.
And I'm like going, our names are not even similar.
Yeah, we have similar problems.
Yeah,
don't we?
yeah, I think, yeah, but it's so funny, and the music is so great. And I wanted to bring up, you know, some of our viewers may not know your musical history, but growing up in Connecticut,
Right.
you know, and then moving here to Nashville in 1987 to pursue music and songwriting and everything, but you were in some fun bands back then, like On the Road Again and Caribou.
Yeah. Caribou was my own band. It was preceded. I played music a lot, acoustic music, when I was in college.
Right, which
I
I love.
graduated University of Connecticut, and in my junior year, I got with a few people that had a working acoustic thing going. And they called it On the Road Again, and they wanted me to quit in my junior year and go on the road with them, which I told them.
They wanted you to go on the road again.
On the road. On the road again with On the Road Again. So, yeah, that was great. So I told them they had to wait because I was laser focused on graduating and getting my degree.
Smart.
So they did, they waited. And as soon as I graduated, I went on the road with them, with On the Road Again, and toured for about 5 years all over New England. And that's how I got my acoustic roots down.
Right.
Okay. And then we toured in the U.S. Virgin Islands for 6 weeks.
Tough gig.
And it was tough, yeah. I had your days free. All you had to do is show up at the hotel 5 nights a week, play the same music. So I just got tired of the lifestyle. I got burnt out. When I came home, I just wanted to work a job, any job, just not have to do that lifestyle thing anymore. And so what happened is I got into a few rock bands, and that changed to classic rock. My acoustic roots went to classic rock.
Yeah.
And then I blended them together and started listening to country, maybe the late 80s, early 90s, when it was starting to turn from the traditional old country to more of a rockabilly.
Which is all back in vogue now.
Yeah. And at that time, it was Ricky Skaggs, Vince Gill, George Strait, Alabama, and they were starting to change it to a little bit more the rock format. And that appealed to me, to both sides.
Right.
So I formed Caribou, which ended up being the state of Connecticut's band that won the state finals. That band, there was never a band that had won state finals for country before.
Yeah, how incredible.
That time it was True Value, Dodge, Country Showdown. You remember the first
totally.
prize was
Love
coming to
those.
Nashville. And I had my sights set for Nashville. Well, we lost in the semifinals in upstate New York.
Gotcha.
Had we won, I would have been here a little earlier.
Yeah.
But after it was over, I still, it was like Nashville was my place to go.
But then it's ironic that you come to Nashville and you end up on Discovery.
Yeah. And
representing Nashville.
Right. And everything was going good then.
So you were meant to come here.
I was meant to, but things came to a grinding halt when my wife at the time became pregnant with our first child.
Yeah.
And when Mark was born, I disappeared, literally disappeared for about 20 some odd years.
But before that, you were a finalist
I was.
on the Discovery show.
Yeah, it was
Looking
funny
for
that
talent.
I went to Louisiana to compete in that. It was a video competition.
Yeah.
And I was the only guy out of 100 contestants that sang an original song.
Wow.
Everybody else did a cover tune.
How incredible.
And I was here to present myself to the music industry to say, hey, I'm here as a bona fide singer-songwriter. This is what I came here for.
Right.
So I didn't win. I got first runner-up. And right after that, like I said, God in his infinite wisdom brought me a son.
Yeah.
And so I disappeared because autopilot kicked in and I did what my dad did. And I didn't need to be in the bars and clubs anymore.
Right.
I needed to stay home, be a father, be a husband, raise my children, which
Definitely.
I did a good job for the next 20 years. And music was always there, and I kept writing.
Yeah.
But I was always, I lent my musical talents to whatever church I was part of,
Certainly.
that kind of thing. But I was outside looking in,
Right.
and have been that way really for all these years until, like I said, about 3 years ago, I decided I'm going to form my own band. Let's have fun. I've got all this repertoire. I'm just going to put it out there as a showcase band,
Right.
as a live demo.
Yeah.
And now it's turned into, we started as an acoustic trio.
And you've been playing a lot of shows because I keep up with you on social media too, and it's like, and I know even this year you're already looking at festivals and fairs and everything.
Yeah.
And plus, I love it that the European and UK audiences are really gravitating to your music. You might have to do a little tour over there as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of mileage over there. As a matter of fact, when For You came out, which was a single just before The Mystery came out
Right.
this morning, it was coming in, I think, number 5 out of their top 10 for all their radio stations.
How
and I didn't
amazing.
expect that at all. Of course, I'm not on any radio station here in the United States. I'm trying to get there.
But you're all over Spotify.
But, yeah, all over Spotify.
So what happens then
Okay.
when they think they're going to interview somebody in the UK and they get the other Mark Anthony instead of you and they're upset?
Should I tell the story? Okay, I'm going to tell the story, and you can shame me if you want.
Never.
All right, so when For You came out, it was getting a lot of airplay over there on 250 radio stations, and the promoter called me and said, Mark, the Radio Internazionale would like to do an interview with you, and we set up a time, and I didn't know that they were 8 hours ahead of me, which was okay.
Right.
At that time, but it was lucky I was home. But I was expecting a call at 8 in the evening, Central Time, and they called me at 1, and on my phone it said Spain, right? And I've learned over the long haul, don't accept international calls.
Right.
So I let it go to voicemail, and then they called right back, and I said, I wonder if this has something to do with the interview. I better get this call. So I answer the phone, and this guy in a foreign accent says, Mark Anthony, you're on W, whatever it was he said. He says, you're live and on the air. I said, thank you. I said, I'm so honored that you would call me today. Right? And right away he goes into, in 1987, you had a song, but and he names the other guy's song. And I said, no, sir, that's not me.
Right.
That's another Mark Anthony, right? And he blows right through that like he didn't hear it. And he goes on to the next song. He says, oh, in 1994, you had a duet with some female artist. A big hit in Europe. No, sir, that's not me. That's another Mark. You're talking to Mark Anthony, the singer-songwriter in Nashville.
And then he finally gets it.
He didn't get it because at that point I thought he did. He said, so Mark Anthony, you live in Nashville now. And I said, this guy's not getting it. So we ended the interview amicably. I called my record label, told them so. Everybody was just busting up. And I told the promoter, next time you set up a radio interview, make sure they know which Mark Anthony.
Well, and I got to tell you also, Mark, to where obviously you can never do a duet with Pitbull. Because all that's going to do is make the confusion worse. You've got to pick other people to do duets with. And then they'll confuse it for him.
And then,
and then they'll go, wait, you did a duet with Jelly Roll. And he goes, no, I did not.
Now, Dolly's been on the show. So, Dolly, I will welcome an interview or a duet with you. That would solve the problem.
Exactly,
right?
Totally. Well, I want to make sure for our viewers, with the Mark Anthony Ensemble, and you're going to be releasing more singles this year. Where do they need to go for your website, social media, to come see you live?
Yeah, great question, because there's all that confusion that we've had to meld through over the last year. So you can reach me directly through my email address, which is mayo, like in mayonnaise, M-A-Y-O, at irongaterecords.com. You can get on the website, which is markanthonyartists.com. I had to take that domain because the other guy took the obvious other domain. Right? So here we go again. So markanthonyartist.com. There's a contact tab on there. You can reach me through there. Multiple ways.
You got the social media going.
Yeah, we've got a Facebook site for Mark Anthony Ensemble.
Spotify channel.
Right, and Mark Anthony Ensemble on Instagram as well.
Great.
I am not on TikTok at this time, but we've got those social media outlets. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
And more singles coming out this
year. More singles. I've written a bunch of new ones, so we're going to be working that into the repertoire. We do not only my original music, but we mix in some fun stuff. Like we got a Beatles medley we're mixing in, and we do some obscure older singles and some popular other covers like Poussette Dart Band. We do some old Outlaws. We do some old Dan Fogelberg.
Great
we mix
stuff.
that all into that.
Yeah, incredible music. But I'll tell you what, I'm a fan of your singles.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see it doing so well, especially internationally. Be sure and listen to his music. Add it to your playlist on Spotify, Mark Anthony Ensemble. Come out and see him live and look for more great singles like The Mystery coming out. Mark, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, sir. Great.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.